You must be careful about the words you use, or the words you allow to be used in your house. Words are things. You must be careful. Careful about calling people out of their names, using racial pejoratives and sexual pejoratives and all that ignorance. Don't do that.
It's time to talk about it.
Pull up a chair and take a seat.
We're serving up recipes for life.
With Hampton University's Dr. Richard Mason and Dr. Tamara Williams.
Welcome to the Sunday Brunch.
This is Dr. Tamara Williams.
And this is Dr. Richard Mason. And welcome back to the table for another edition of Sunday Brunch with the Good Doctors. How you been?
Ooh, I have been, bro. Does that count?
Well, sometimes just being is a state of mind.
Listen here. That's all I have today on this good Sunday. But, when you surround yourself with the right people, at times you can, grab some of that energy and you can make it through. So I'm really excited to be here at the table. How are you?
I'm doing good, just hanging in there. It's just hard to believe that, time is just winding down so fast. We're getting closer to the end of the year. It's almost like you have Labor Day and next thing you know, you see Christmas decorations. I was walking through.
Let's not talk Christmas. Oh my goodness.
Listen. I was walking through the store the other day. I was like, wait a minute. They done went past Halloween. I done seen some, not one turkey for Thanksgiving. All I see is Christmas stuff right now. I'm like,
oh my goodness, too much.
Wait a minute. How we get here so fast? But I'm not going to complain because with Thanksgiving and Christmas come that good food. So
listen to me. I prefer Thanksgiving over Christmas. I definitely prefer Thanksgiving over Christmas. As a parent, Christmas kills me. But Thanksgiving just feeds my whole spirit and my soul. So I prefer.
Listen, Thanksgiving give you the food. Christmas is an opportunity to get it right. If you mess something up at the Thanksgiving, then you get to cook that over again for Christmas.
You mess it up, I'm not even tasting it again. I ain't gonna even play with you like my stomach discriminates.
Listen, but I'll tell you this. I was, earlier this week, I was talking about just some food in general, some good food, and folks just talking about a number of different things, who brings what to the table and all this stuff or whatever, and it came up, the question came up just in terms of, do you marry a woman who can cook, or because she can cook, is that truly the way to a man's heart is through his stomach, I said, well,
I've only been married 18 years. You have me, by a few. So do tell, let's do tell in your opinion.
Well, I will say this, everybody has their own skill set, because I came to the table being able to cook, I'm not a big boy for no reason, you know what I mean? So
you said you came that way. She didn't.
That's right. I didn't have to depend on nobody
way.
To fix a meal, I can't depend on nobody to fix a meal for me, because when I'm hungry and ready to eat, I'm not going to sit around and wait on you. You know what I mean? You're going to get there and you're going to find out that I done already cooked dinner, grease on my lips. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, you didn't only cook and you ate it too. Okay.
Yum, yum, yum. All gone.
Too much. Whenever I see our listeners out in public, people are always asking me, do you really eat like that? People really want to know, are you really on this show eating like that? And so I just want to share that, yes, we both enjoy food.
Listen, folks that
and we have not missed any meals.
Love my bacon. Listen, so they know when I'm talking about it. They know I'm talking about my bacon for real.
We are bacon native.
Exactly. And don't waste no time. We'll show up. You hear what I say?
If you don't have anything else on the menu and you have bacon, we still good.
Right. You started somewhere. You got to start somewhere, and bacon is always a good place to start.
And as far as I'm concerned. But either way, we could talk about food all day, but I do want to make sure that we I'm so excited about what we're going to be talking about today. Not in the sense of that I'm encouraging any of our listeners to engage in any of these behaviors we're discussing, but moreover, because it's an opportunity to discuss one of the things that we both love so much, which are the arts.
Mm-hmm.
And also gives us an opportunity to discuss relationships
Mm-hmm.
and how
Mm-hmm.
that plays out, and sometimes who you seek help from when you're struggling in relationships, because relationships are not always um, fluffy, I should
Oh,
say.
that's a nice word, fluffy.
Fluffy
That's
and
nice.
comfortable, like that good pillow. Some of us like solid pillows. Some people live in dysfunction, and so, and some people do not. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
We all like different types of pillows. And like you said, you came to your marriage with a different type of skill set. Let me be
Exactly.
clear. My husband did not marry me for my cooking.
All right. All right.
And he is alive today because I do not.
You can put something on the table, but it might not bless anybody.
I have learned, like I said, I've been married 18 years, so I have come across a few things, but I am not the master chef.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You got a signature dish. We would always laugh because when we were growing up, my mom had to work, my dad had to cook dinner.
Don't play me. I know what you're saying.
Listen, we could always count on some beans and weenies. I'm gonna tell you right now.
No, don't try to play me like I'm the one that brings the utensils, and we're not
right.
beans and weenies. I don't even do hot dogs anymore, especially after
plates.
that show we did on the cheap date.
You own the paper product detail, all right? Plates, napkins,
listen, I
cups.
will bring it because it is necessary. I am one of those people of efficiency. I think that we should be able to go ahead and move along and help the people, whoever house is at. Let's keep it moving. So I will bring those products so that we can go ahead and keep it pushing. And besides,
right.
I like my cooking. It's not for public consumption.
All right. So long as you like it, it's all right. You know what I mean? That's it.
I'm being facetious. We're being really silly. I don't, but I can joke on myself because I am myself. And that's not my special gift. Just like we don't believe in turkey bacon. That was
no
called for that.
The Lord didn't call turkey to be no bacon. Now He didn't call it turkey to be no bacon.
Right. And he didn't call me to be no chef. That's why my name is Dr. Williams. Now, moving along.
Walk in your calling. Walk in your calling.
Yes. I think it's important that people not pretend to be something that they are not, and that they learn to become more comfortable in the things that they are, and the things that they are really gifted in. They should spend some time flourishing in that. And I think in relationships, everybody doesn't need to be good at the same thing.
Exactly.
It's great to have a good balance. So as I'm joking, I'm being, really serious, that one of the things that attracted me to my husband was the fact that he could cook. So I was already I was playing chess, not checkers. I was thinking along the line of what will I need in my life? Food is one of them.
Listen, sustainability. That's what we need. But look, well, I'm going to go ahead on and make my plate at this buffet line because it looks like they got some more bacon out here now. So, and I see somebody else over there eyeing the bacon, and I know she had her plate loaded up the last time. So I'm going to go ahead and get mine this time.
Let's not.
Listen.
He didn't
you know what I mean?
It, ma'am, but he did.
I did. Yes, I did. I'm going to get it. So I'll let you introduce our guest as always, and I'll bring you back a little biscuit with a little honey butter. All right?
That's all I need. Thank you so much, Brun. So I am so happy to welcome back to the table. I said that we love the arts, so we want to always welcome those who are from our community, who have spent some good time in our community, especially our Hampton community. So we want to welcome back an artist extraordinaire. He does so many different things. But we want to talk about his latest project, and I want to give him an opportunity to walk us through a little bit of that, and we'll have a good in-depth conversation and tell you where you can find it. So welcome back to the table to talk about the Twisted Marriage Therapist, Mr. Booker Mattison himself, Booker T.Mattison himself.
Booker T, you can't forget the T.
Yes,
that reduces the black quotient substantially if you take the T out.
All right.
It could be Booker somebody else, but it's got to be that Booker T.
Booker T, especially Hampton, Booker T. You can't take the T out.
Hello, somebody.
Yeah. Exactly.
When you say the T.
How have you been, my brother? Good to see you.
Great to see you both, and thank you all first for having me back. And it's a full circle moment because as we wrapped up our discussion about The Sound of Christmas last year, I kind of teased this film. So to complete the film and to be back to discuss it is both an honor and a privilege, because I always enjoy talking to you both.
Good.
Before we jump into talking about the Twisted Marriage Therapist, how did things go working with your cast? Because now we can really talk to you, working with your cast with your Christmas film.
It was a lot of fun. Even though the story is set in Atlanta, we shot in Little Rock, Arkansas. Part of the magic of making movies. So Little Rock was home for a month. We shot May 2nd through June 3rd, and Tubi, which is the network that it's on, is streaming. They were so excited about it that they not rushed the film, I forget the term they used, essentially rushed it because they wanted to get it out because they were excited about it. So it was a rush to finish it, and it's been doing really well. It was released September 7th. And, streamers don't release numbers, of course, but their distinction of very well is a good one. And lots of great feedback from people who've had a chance to view the movie. So it's been doing really well. And it was great to shoot. Wonderful cast. Maya Abney plays Dr. Yo. Faraz Lass plays the husband, Liam. And the wife, Armika, is played by Jennifer Sears. So really great cast and a lot of fun making the film.
Tell us a little bit about the film, like what it's about.
Sure. Twisted Marriage Therapist is the story of a celebrity marriage counselor who gets the husband of a couple she's counseling committed so she can steal his wife. And I remember when I dropped that log line on you all last year, both of you all, because, this is what you all do. Both of y'all's face was like... And it's totally fiction. I've done other interviews.
Don't get it twisted. We do not do
Don't get it twisted. Oh, great pun! The pun game is on fleek today. That's good.
That we do not do.
Yeah, no. But I've had people in other interviews ask me, "Hey, is that a reflection of your marriage?" Because it's a psychological thriller, and it's wild, and it's supposed to be that way. It's fun. But no, it's not semi-autobiographical, and it's not a reflection of my marriage. Rather, it is really hyperbole for human nature, the things you experience in relationships, and certainly not. I tell people that I'm pro counseling, so I'm not anti-counseling by any stretch of the imagination. And it's totally a fictional account of what can happen when you choose the wrong marriage counselor.
Wow. The wrong individuals in your life in general.
Yes.
And when you seek help from people who should not be helping people.
100%.
Just because you can does not mean that you should. And this film, Lord have mercy, she just should not.
Yes, Dr. Yo is a handful. Yes.
She need to see somebody herself.
Right. She needs to see one of y'all.
No, let me tell you how fast I will refer her.
But she's so narcissistic, she wouldn't think that she needed to see someone.
She does not feel that she needs help. And, what is so sad is, one thing that we do know about narcissistic individuals is they enjoy and almost feel like they have to manipulate people in order to feel good about themselves. And they have that need to do that. And in this film, you really see her literally like biblically, although she is not in biblical ways, she is maneuvering herself into their relationship so that she can take full control.
And I've said that it's an allegory for Matthew 7:25, and she even references that scripture twice in the film. And like Satan when he was talking to Jesus, referencing that you say the scripture correctly, but the application and the context is all off. So it is an allegory for that, and the rains come and the winds blow and beat against the relationship, the marriage, and it did not fall because it was built on the solid rock of love. And the married couple, when we come into the movie, they're having real, legit problems, and that solid rock of love is what allows them to sustain the wind and the rain that is Dr. Yo, literally coming at them with everything.
A whole tsunami.
Yes.
Right.
Not a half a tsunami, a whole
A
tsunami, and
whole
that's that's
tsunami.
part of what makes it a fun a fun watch.
Well, see, this whole movie kind of put it out there because as right now we're dealing with people needing counseling services and really seeking someone, and they see something like this. Sometimes it can be a turnoff, but of course we know that this is definitely as you say, it's nonfiction. It's just out of the brain of the brainchild of your thoughts. It's like, hey, this is what's going to sell. But
we're going to talk about that at some point.
Exactly. We want to know what's on their brain. But listen, but just in terms of, we know people seek out help, and we certainly want to encourage people. And that's kind of how we came to this place of, really doing Sunday brunch, because we want to be able to create opportunities for people to recognize when it's time to get some help. Tell us a little bit about the movie in terms of what were the issues that created the need for this couple to want to go seek some therapy.
Sure. When they've been married 7 years, 7 being the number of completion. And the wife was unfaithful to the husband, and not that I'm justifying what she did, but her husband was emotionally unavailable. And part of that stemmed from post-traumatic stress disorder. He's, ex-military. He wasn't available emotionally, and unfortunately, she sought intimacy outside of the home, which created an issue. And they also were not successful at trying to have children. They had 2 unsuccessful attempts. So there's issues of fertility, certainly issues of fidelity, and lack of communication or unhealthy communication brought them to the place where the wife, of course, wants to seek counseling. He loves her and stays. He's not that into counseling, but he does it, again, because he does love his wife, despite her hurting him very, very badly.
But initially, he is highly, highly against it.
Absolutely. He's highly, highly against it. And
he kind of gets drugged into meeting, right?
He does.
This doctor.
He does. And the other part, too, that I explore, to your point, Dr. Mason, is, we're in this blow-up culture where celebrity rules the day. And that's not to say that you can't have a celebrity counselor who's effective. And the truth of the matter is, Dr. Joe is brilliant. And she and the sessions that she has with them, they do serve to bring them back together. But of course, her purpose and intention in doing good, as it were, is to manipulate and control. So her motivation is off.
I want to pause there.
Sure.
And talk a little bit about that, because I think that oftentimes we all have gifts, right? And we can use our gifts for good or evil.
Sure.
And what you acknowledge is that she's gifted, and she's gifted in her ability to use her words, and she's gifted in being able to read people in the room. And she, like many people who make millions of dollars doing some of these motivational speaking and those type of things, she's able to tap into those things. Doesn't mean it always works, but she's able to manipulate people into believing that. And so when I see her on the stage, I see her using her gift more as a money thing, like more as a way to collect celebrity and attention, not that she's not capable, but it seems more like where she's getting her narcissistic feed from.
And that's 100% correct. And it's also a metaphor for, in almost every industry now, I'm also an author as well as a screenwriter and a director. And, now to get a book deal, it's not so much how well you can write. Certainly that's a part of it, but it's like, how many followers do you have? What's your social media profile? Even during the casting process, we're looking at how many followers an actor has. It's not just, oh, he nailed the role, she nailed the role. So it's also exploring that, because in the modern context, it's true. And I don't know if that touches you all's feel, and this, of course, is, again, a work of fiction. So, she has this TED Talk styled show, but she's literally attracting hundreds of thousands of viewers every show. So imagine someone with a successful practice, brick and mortar practice. You're not seeing 100,000 clients come through your door. So she's able to attract these.
Definitely
It's
not.
Dr. Yo. Hey, I need counseling. Let's go to Dr. Yo. But what about the highly successful counselor down the street? You know, that you go to psychologytoday.com, or however you find your counselors, BetterHelp, or wherever you find your counselor. No, but Dr. Yo, I know I heard she has a very popular online show. So that's also a part of what we're exploring in the movie as well, because followers and social media presence has impacted almost every industry. And we kind of pay attention to that. Whether you agree with it or not, it's a reality of what we're faced with in so many industries nowadays.
It's that popularity, that celebrity piece. Everybody wants to be in a certain circle, and so sometimes we have to really look at what's best for us. Is it really connecting? Because that's one of the things I always talk about with people, just in terms of as you are looking for a therapist, just because your friend recommends Dr. So-and-so, that doesn't mean Dr. So-and-so is going to be good for you. You have to make sure that you find a good fit, because even when clients come in to see me, that's always one of the things I talk about. We do an assessment, and we, have 2 sessions to feel each other out, because guess what? I may not be the therapist for you, because there are certain things that I expect, when clients come in, and clients expect certain things from their therapist, and I can't be all things to everybody. And so that's one of the things that I always stress to people when I'm out in the community talking or whatever. But even when they come in, my mindset is you have to make sure that you are in the right place at the right time with the right therapist in order to get the most out of the process to make it beneficial.
Absolutely.
I liken it to driving a car. We don't all like the same cars. And even though you think you like a car, you still need to test drive it, and figure out whether or not that's a good fit for you. It may be too much for you. It may not be enough once you get in it. And so, it's a good thing to know. And then at different times of our life, we drive different types of cars. So you might need a different type of therapist or different type of help. And, I even liken it to the maintenance part of it. When you go through the maintenance aspect of it, I don't let everybody do the maintenance on my car. You have to be very specific. Look, you can't even oil change my car, not just anybody, so
because they can mess it up.
Listen, I drive premium gas. I don't even just put any type of gas in my car. And so I like it to very much that, therapy, you need to get all those little pieces together to do well, to be successful, because you need to be comfortable enough to be honest. And so one of the things that I noted in the movie, why I said he got drugged there, is that, you can lead the horse to the water, but you can't make them drink. You really need people to want help to really be able to help them.
That's true.
Right.
And so she was able to, she handpicked them. She selected, she manipulated. She's a celebrity. She can't work with everybody. So she has one couple, and she's attracted to this woman from Gate. And so here she is. She's like, it's going to be that couple right there. That's who I want to work with. Because,
the saying that injured people injure people. So even that choice was rooted in injury that she had. And then that inspired, she's injured now. She's going to choose them. And, not to give away any spoilers, but that injury that she has is the reason why she picks the couple. And, that's what starts our wild journey through the narrative.
A wild journey. I have not, I've had to pause this journey several times in the watching, because it is too much for me to consume. And let me tell you, I have been a psychologist in a prison, so I have witnessed and seen and heard many of things. But I have had to pause this movie. So it's so much happening. It's so much happening at one time. And it's a lot of things. It's a combination. You say that this is not a reflection of your own marriage, but it's more of like what you've seen and where we are in times. And so you see a combination of all these different elements happening. And I'm grieving at the same time our field, Dr. Mason, because, being a celebrity, the more you are highlighted, the more attention you receive. When you mess up, the bigger the outfall of that, and how it impacts other people who were trying to be like you or striving to understand the things that you're saying. So.
And what's crazy is, we cannot, just overlook the fact that situations like this have happened, and because there are situations where therapists have fallen in love with their clients and all or whatever. And we have, ethics and things of that nature that we're governed by that basically says there's certain things that we can and cannot do, but from an ethical perspective as well as a legal perspective. And I always tell, students as we're training them, just because it's not against the law, it doesn't mean that it should happen. Because we have laws that tell us, when it's appropriate to have different types of relationships with our clients. However, from an ethical perspective, what does that look like? You were seeing this patient maybe 3 years ago, and now you meet this person out and about. Guess what? That person is still that same person you were seeing 3 years ago. They're just able to better deal with certain things. And now you want to enter into a romantic relationship? Get out of here.
And you have an unfair advantage. You have an unfair advantage because you have insight to some of the things that they would not naturally share or as quickly share as they're getting to know someone. You've learned how to already talk to that individual and what not to say. And so it can't really be a genuine type of situation. It's really not good for that individual either. It doesn't really teach them healthy love or attachments. So,
right. Secrets and buttons. Secrets and buttons. You understand
Secrets
what I'm saying?
And buttons. That sounds like a book title.
Exactly. You go ahead and use that one. We'll get some royalty talk later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Secrets and buttons.
Sunday brunch, secrets and buttons.
Exactly. And that's the thing that ends up happening when you're in these types of situations or whatever. Guess what? You know what buttons to push.
Right.
And it creates that manipulation, which everyone knows manipulation in and of itself is unhealthy.
Yes. Yes.
There's nothing healthy about manipulation.
And it's a power dynamic, and you're puppeting this individual because they've been trained to want to desire your approval. And they see you as a person with a different power dynamic because of how you came into. And so even if they idealize you and fell in love with you, they're really falling in love with the feeling that you give them, which is safety, which is really unsafe once you start becoming and adding these sexual things into it.
It's not unlike the professor-student dynamic. We're all professors as well.
Right.
It's similar. And, these students sit under you and, not all professors steward that relationship. And there's a genuine intimacy that's developed between professor and student. It's not a sexual. Well, it shouldn't be a sexual.
Right. It better not
intimacy
be.
in the learning process. This degree of trust. This degree of communication. You're actually helping them to grow and to develop. So yes, there's approval. There's again a healthy form of love. I know my professors from college, I will never call them by their first name, even when they tell me to. I just won't do it. They're still Dr. So-and-so to me.
I tell my students, I don't need any new friends.
Right.
I don't need any new friends. It will always, it doesn't mean that we won't be able to interact professionally.
Right.
There will always be that understanding of where we met, how we met.
That's right.
And especially when it comes to male students and female students. Boundaries are important.
That's right.
Yes.
Boundaries are definitely important. And you said that teacher dynamic and that power dynamic of wanting to have that approval and sometimes feeling like you should or you're supposed to be there.
Right.
And so that's definitely an unhealthy dynamic too that you notice even in that movie, like you feel that pressure to continue to be there. Right. And in real treatment, you have the ability, it's consent, it's informed consent. You can stop at any time, know?
Right.
Exactly. And that's the important piece, knowing where those boundaries are and knowing when it's time to stop. Unfortunately, when you have a situation like in this movie where you have a therapist who really has pressed the issues beyond the boundaries, at some point, where do you begin? To say, hey, you know what? Let me push back a little bit on this, and that's the reality, of it all. But in the movie, tell us a little bit about the dynamic with the husband and all, because there's some things that I guess he didn't recognize boundaries I'm guessing, or he just did not press the issue. But
Right.
I'll let you go ahead and tell it.
Sure, and every character in a good film. I was about to say good meal. I was listening to you. I was talking about food earlier.
No, that's
Hey.
right.
Ooh, y'all talking about bacon. Ooh, Jesus. He's the
And it
Lord of the
tastes so
bacon.
good.
Hallelujah. Glory. So
Lord.
there's an arc, which and I tell my screenwriting students that in film, characters go from ignorance to knowledge. They know things at the end of a film that they did not know at the beginning. And his arc is, initially he's skeptical, but then he sees Dr. Yo's brilliance and dynamism, and she's able to draw him in. But then he notices contradictions, like, wait a minute, that's a red flag. That's not right. Then he warns his wife. And, she's all in. Again, that celebrity piece, right? And we give celebrities a lot more leeway than we do individuals that we actually know and interact with. Your favorite recording artist, you read some article, you want to explain it away, they do something crazy. You want to explain it away. Let your next door neighbor do that same thing, or your spouse do that same thing and see what happens. And eventually, he's able to showcase. Well, actually, you know what? He doesn't showcase to his wife. By the time, he's able to she actually sees it for herself, because the web has been spun, and lo and behold, she finds herself in it, which also speaks to, as your spouse. That is a legit partnership, and you do need to, you all have to cover each other, because your spouse sees things that you don't, and vice versa. And just because you don't see it doesn't mean that it's not a reality. And one thing that my wife and I agreed to do, it wasn't when we first got married, we had to learn this, but we agreed that if one of us sees something as an issue, even if the other doesn't acknowledge or see or feel or think that's an issue, we're going
It's an issue.
listen and address it as if it's one. Why? Because that's an issue with you. And that was a dynamic, hopefully at the end, because again, they are better at the end than they are at the beginning. Hopefully that's a lesson that they've both learned, that, you know what, if spouse one says, you need to check that, and spouse two, oh, no. Well, no, let's examine that. Let's unpack that and see what's going on with that. And had they done that earlier, they wouldn't have gone through what they had to go through before they came to that place of being better.
I think it speaks to someone's emotional intelligence and, the ability to be able to do that. I'm looking forward to more time on the show to really delve into that, because I don't think women and men always come from the same level of emotional intelligence. I don't think that men are really trained to deal with emotion and to see emotion and feel it. And even interpret it, because part of in a relationship, if someone is not communicating, there's other ways that emotions are still coming out, being able to interpret that. So, and communicate effectively. So even what you're trying to give off doesn't mean that's what you're receiving, that other person is receiving. So.
And I agree with that. And I think just like the cooking piece, I think that it really depends, in the relationship. So like, I'm actually emotionally more aware, than my wife, which is interesting. And she's actually more handy.
You're an artist though, so that
she's more handy than I am.
Yeah.
Right. And we're tied with cooking now, but coming into the relationship, I was like you, Dr. Mason, I could throw down. So I actually
put some love in that pot.
Yeah, I had the trophy when we first came in, but now, we're tied, and there's a whole lot of things she can cook a whole lot better than me. But yeah, I think that, yes, there's absolutely, there can be this imbalance in the levels of emotional intelligence. And to your point, Dr. Williams, oftentimes it is the brother who's like, kind of, not seeing, but there are some emotionally aware and emotionally intelligent men, and on the flip side, some women who are kind of emotionally blind as well.
They've been stunted in so many different ways. And so, here on this show, we do talk about both sides. So, there are some people, some very toxic women that come into relationships that toxic men. So, we know that hurt people. So you guys are laughing. Why?
Dr. Yo, she's a woman, but yeah, Dr. Yo.
Exactly.
She's toxic. She's very, very, very toxic.
But you're right in a sense, especially when you're talking about the whole emotional intelligence piece. I was talking about this last weekend at a session I had, workshop I was doing. And the thing is, we were talking about how boys are raised versus little girls. Straight out the gate, if a little boy falls on the playground, and starts to cry, it's like, oh man, suck it up. You're a big boy.
Man up.
Get it together. There's nothing wrong. But a little girl can fall. Oh, let's kiss the boo-boo. Let's go get some ice cream. Let's put a Band-Aid on it. They're taught from the beginning, how that we're supposed to be treated and how we're supposed to respond to things. Guys are taught to toughen up, and that's the bottom line. There's no crying. You can't do this. You can't do that. And so over a period of time, men are taught to stuff their feelings, their emotions and all. And so not realizing that their feelings affect their thoughts, which then their thoughts create all of these different types of emotions, which then certainly will affect all of their actions. So when we talk about how men respond to certain things is based on some of their emotions, that have been suppressed feelings and how they all come out. So it really does create a challenge at some point. And so I think as a society, once we get to a place that we start looking at these things, that's going to make a big difference. And especially as we talk, from a growth model, how do we begin to look at this? And I know working with men, sometimes that's the biggest place that we have to start from, is really trying to help them to understand a feeling, a thought, emotion, and action, and how all of those things are tied in there together.
Sure.
It makes a big difference.
Identifying their feelings and emotions.
Yeah.
Yes.
And how they display on something other than aggression. And it's the same way with women. We're taught to stay in our feelings and to, what are you feeling? That's what they always ask you. They want, so if you're the type of person who doesn't get into all that, some people think that's abnormal too, but it's really not. It's just, we are, as people, are individuals. And so it's not one or the other. We can be multiple things.
But women,
you're entitled to whatever, like Booker, what you were saying, you're entitled to your feelings. And in relationships, whether it's a marriage or a friendship, any type of relationship, you have to acknowledge the other person's feelings, because we behave based on the way that we're thinking, our perception. So if I perceive something as a problem, I'm going to behave as if it's a problem. And so it's best that you address that issue so that we can move on. Even if you don't think it's a problem, we cannot label other people's feelings. We have to give credence to the fact and acknowledge that they have their feelings, not belittle them and say, well, I wouldn't feel that way about that if I were you. Well, guess what, boo-boo, you not me.
That's right. But I'm encouraged because interesting that this would come up in this discussion. So just in screenwriting class today, the next film I'm working on it's a legal thriller, and there's a moment, and the protagonist it's a woman. She's an attorney.
Tell us how you feel about women, Booker.
I'm sorry. This is not twisted attorney. This is she's brilliant, solves the case and figures it all out. But there's a moment in the film where she gets off work and she goes down to the parking garage under the building, and the entire parking garage is empty except for a windowless white van parked beside her car. And she conceals and carries. It's Georgia, everybody conceals and carries. You don't even need a license for that now. That's another conversation altogether. So she takes her pistol out of her. Meanwhile, there's a serial killer loose in the area. She takes her pistol out. And so the question that I asked the men in the class, and asked the men and the women, I said, because this idea that Dr. Mason brought out about be tough and be strong can actually, from a man, because we get injured more and killed more and everything else. Men, I guess we do crazy things. How that machismo can get you killed or hurt. So I asked the young men, they're all in their 20s. So how many of you would have taken your pistol out like her name is Maya, like Maya did? And I think it's 6 guys in the class, and 5 out of the 6 said that they would. I was assuming they all, my generation, no, I ain't scared, but I would too. And their reaction was similar to, then I asked the women in the class, okay, and they all, so I'm like, okay, well, I think that the training and talking about these things, about your emotions and emotional intelligence and how we're socialized, I'm encouraged that these men are like, I'm not trying to be hard and tough. I'm trying to be smart. So I hopefully
see it the other way, Booker.
Change is on the way. Say it again.
I don't see it that way. I see it, they're afraid to engage in the fisticuffs. Your generation, they didn't lean towards gun. That's why we have increasing gun violence. Their first propensity now is to go to gun violence versus to actually have a fight and live to fight another day. but
Yeah.
they don't know how to problem solve other than to go right towards that gun. So I'm not shocked that they said that they will pull out their gun.
Yeah, I mean, that's a different
anytime they feel
context of a
unsafe.
fight. This isn't a fight. This is a self-defense scenario.
But I look at the
For me, it's
same way,
very
that
different.
fight or flight response. What you gonna do? You
Well,
gonna
look,
freeze?
if I come down there and it's a white van parked next to my car and
Listen,
there's
I'm parked next to my car. Let me be clear.
I'm pulling out too.
Let me be clear. I'm not even getting out the car, Booker.
Well, no,
Somebody
she's
got to
coming
live
from
to
work.
talk about it.
She has to get to her car. She's coming out of work.
Oh, we're going back to work. We have a
Yeah.
few more things that need to be handled. We're walking right on
That's
back
called being
into
aware
the
of your
building.
surroundings.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, look, that's what she gets for working late because ain't nobody in the office. She's the only one there.
We're gonna call somebody and they're gonna come. We're gonna problem solve, but me going to my car and me feeling like I need to pull out my pistol to get to my car, that's not something I'm personally comfortable with.
It's called call for a wellness check. I'm about to get off work and I need a police officer to come out here and meet me.
I got
by the
45
time that police
licenses.
officer
Y'all
gets
pull
there, the
up.
person in that white windowless van, then already done something to you.
Listen.
See, that's why
I got
give them 30.
some of y'all need to come on through here and help me get to this.
Give them 30. Give them 30 minutes. 30 minutes. I'm about to be leaving here, so you call 30 minutes ahead of time. There's a white van outside. When you see them outside, it's time for you to leave and go on
When
home.
you see the white van, it's time to call my man.
That's it.
Please believe it. We will call the brothers. We will call whoever is necessary in a time of need. And because the people on this at this table, we are not people who are little boys who cry wolf. We're not people who are just screaming out for help just to get help. If I call Dr. Mason and say I need something, he knows that is very serious. I am not one to ask. He's gonna stop. I have full confidence that he's gonna handle that situation and assess it very quickly. He's gonna like, something is wrong here.
Yeah,
So
the call itself was like, wait a minute.
Huh?
Exactly.
I had a
right.
cousin
So you need
who I
what?
never talked to. Same thing happened last week. He never talks to me. So when he was like, hey, cuz, can I call you? I'm like, okay, this is
Right
not
now.
normal.
Right.
He doesn't, he's like, 20-something. The 20-something ain't trying to holler at the old dudes. So I'm like, okay, I got to, I'm saying, hey, here's my number. And then boom, we had a conversation right away because it was like, okay, he's like, let me talk to you. And all they want to do is text these days. They don't want to be called. So yeah, you're right. That was code red.
Exactly.
And so you need people in your life, in your circle, who know your body language, who know how you move, so that if something is wrong, even sometimes you're not aware that you're not at your best. You may not see that. You need people who you can trust and can say, hey, let's work this out.
Exactly. And honestly, when you talk about being married, that's what you need. You really need to develop that relationship with your spouse, because whereas one person may be weak in one area, the other person can prop them up. You know what I mean? And that's where you have to have that growth mindset when you're talking about a marriage, and not necessarily look at things being a negative. If I come to you and say this, it's a negative, you're putting me down, No, because you're not going to be right all the time. And it's okay. This is just how the other person is viewing the scenario. And so sometimes I know in therapy, that's what we kind of work through, a level of communication, so that you can learn how to communicate those likes, those dislikes, those things that challenge your commitment to the relationship and all as well. And in this movie, I'm thinking that maybe they did not have that level of communication between them. And Dr. Yo kind of took advantage of that in that whole process, and instead of helping them to build that process up, that, she used that against them in that arena.
Absolutely. And
She
the irony
groomed them
being
and she
that was her
targeted
second thing that she identified. When she identified, the three issues, it was communication, intimacy. I wrote the movie and I'm forgetting the third one. Communication, intimacy, and I can't believe I'm forgetting the third. Well, watch
They
the
have
movie.
to watch it to get it.
Yeah.
Tell everybody.
Yeah, but communication was one of them for sure. Yeah,
It
that was the
always
first
is.
one.
It
Yeah.
always is.
That's the biggest thing. I always tell couples, when you can sit and communicate, especially if we're challenged sometimes when there are physical altercations and stuff like that or whatever. We're challenged by those things, and we recognize that, because safety is key. That's the first piece. You got to be safe. You can't be in a situation where someone feel it's okay to put their hands on you. So we've got to work through those things first and foremost. But communication is the next biggest piece there. And learning how to communicate with one another, a person's wants, needs, likes, dislikes, you name it. You've got to figure out how do you communicate that with one another. And like I said, in a respectful manner so that you have an understanding. Because the mindset is, if I tell you that you're feeding, every time you cook broccoli, I don't like broccoli, and every time I turn around, you're putting broccoli on the table. Are you hearing me? I shouldn't have to keep telling you over and over again that I don't like broccoli, because to me, once I've said it and you continue to do it, that's a choice. That's a choice that you're making to continue to do this. And that happens in relationships, whether it is something from your family of origin that you do. Hey, my mama only taught me how to cook broccoli. Okay, well, we're going to go to a cooking class because you're going to learn how to cook some Brussels sprouts today.
or the communication or the understanding. Sometimes people are assuming that you make a statement, and if someone does not respond the way you want them to respond, that they have not heard you. But if I continue to put broccoli on the table, it's there because I enjoy broccoli. I didn't put it on your plate. I understand you don't like it. Okay, but I'm gonna keep cooking broccoli because I enjoy eating broccoli. Does that mean I can't eat broccoli because you don't like broccoli?
You eat all the broccoli.
But I'm saying that's how communication works. Sometimes people in a couple really are not saying opposing things. They're really not saying things that they would have to fight over. They could really agree to disagree, but how they interpret it sometimes, and that lack of communication is, this is worth that fight.
Let me tell you,
some people may feel like it's personal. So it could be saying, I don't even want to smell broccoli. Maybe
that's right. Don't want it nowhere near your broccoli.
I bet you want to smell some bacon, though.
Exactly. Hey, we agree on that. But listen,
broccoli juice, all of that stuff, stay over there with your stuff, and that's something like, my wife, she likes mushrooms on pizza. I don't. And so my thing is, you get your pizza, I'm going to get mine. She's like, well, we can do half.
We can have a half.
Listen, no, because the aroma from those mushrooms on your half is going to come over to my half. You get your own. I'm going to get mine.
Mine.
And this is just, that doesn't make sense. You can't force me to want your aroma of them mushrooms on my pizza.
He is speaking. He is speaking right here.
That'll preach. You can't force me to want your aroma. That'll preach.
We're not even pizza today, but that's okay.
Exactly. That's right. You know what I'm saying? Respect the fact that I said it's not as if I'm telling you not to eat too much the mushrooms that you like. Right. Respect the fact that I'm saying don't get them and trying to change your mind about the mushrooms. You like mushrooms. So long as those mushrooms don't impact me, I'm okay with it. You go ahead and get your pizza. I'm going to get mine. And we're going to be satisfied because I'm eating my pizza over here without the mushrooms, without the aroma of the mushrooms. And that's the way we're going to do this thing.
And I think that's a good way to learn how to communicate. And
yes.
After dealing with you one or two times, I'm sure she learned very quickly how specific you were about that, where she may not have thought it was big of an issue, the way that she was raised, the way she conceived, she might be like, that's a lot of money. We're not going to eat both of these pieces. Like in her mind, it may be different, but learning your mate and your person and how serious they are, then you can respond accordingly. And say, okay, I understand. It's not that serious to me, but I see this is very serious to you. You don't want onions. You don't want spinach. You don't want any of these things touching your side of the piece. You don't even want it in the same box. Okay.
In the same, you don't even want it in the same box.
He does not want it in the same box.
I'm much better than I used to be. Because I grew up not wanting food to touch. Okay?
See, there it is.
The juices and all of that stuff. And I had a great aunt. She would fix your plate, put gravy on everything, and then put your bread on top of that. And I just sit there and look at the plate. I'm like,
You ruin all that good food.
Let me tell you how I would have socked it up.
Let me tell you how I sat there one day for 4 hours and looked at that plate.
I'm like, it all goes down the same way. It all goes down the same way. It mixes down there in my tummy anyhow.
Once it get there, I ain't got nothing to do with it, all right? But I'm going to tell you how I'm going to put it in there.
It's about the journey, not the destination.
And he's a visual person. It's about learning your people. And so I am really excited that we've been able to have this conversation today so that we can learn more about each other and how to communicate and understand that sometimes you can laugh about those things as well. They don't have to always end up in major fights. You can agree to disagree. And then to be able to acknowledge who can actually help you. Just because someone has a title or they're a celebrity does not mean they're going to be that good fit for you.
Right. Trust. Communication, intimacy, and trust. That's the three. Yes.
And that's it. That would definitely those things will certainly in marriages. When you don't have communication, intimacy, and trust, you've got that. Yeah, you said a whole lot right there.
That was well written.
Yeah.
Well written.
Yeah.
If Dr. Yo wasn't, who she was, she'd be a brilliant, she'd be a brilliant counselor. But she has the wrong motive. Her roots are corrupted.
Yeah.
So the fruit is not good for you.
Absolutely. All money is not good money.
Well.
And so,
raw. I do agree with that.
All words are not good words, and that's what I mean. Just because something's expensive or it's you feel like it's exclusive does not mean it's for you, and you should want that. It has a high price on it or something does not mean that's going to be a good fit for you or it's going to be genuine for you. And so a lot of times if it seems too good to be true, a lot of times it is too good to be true, and they felt like they had won the lottery specifically. And it was such that they had been targeted. And so we just, want to encourage people to be good consumers of research and good consumers of their products. So they can get some good help.
Yes.
Definitely so. And do what works for you. I always tell folks, you have to work your own plan. Sometimes couples or people will come into therapy and say, hey, doc, you helped so-and-so out. You did this, that, and the other, whatever. Do this for me, because I know they said I should do this, and it's still not working. Well, first of all, you work somebody else's plan. You have to work your own plan. And so that's one of the things we talk about coming into therapy, getting your own plan together so that you can make things, more specific to your own journey, to your own situation. Because once again, if I tell you how to cook a meal and you don't have the ingredients in your home to cook that meal, then your meal is going to be lacking. You know what I mean? Yeah. So therefore, you have to make sure, tell me what you have in your cupboards, and I can tell you what kind of meal we're going to make at some point.
We DoorDash and Instacart.
Right.
Well, I'm just going to pull up. Then you let me know. After all this has arrived and it's all good, it's all tasty, I want some. But,
But that's important, and we were talking about that. And Thomas said, that's the thing. You have to make sure that all of the things that you bring to the table are put on the table so that we can talk about it. One of my famous first words, few words to clients are basically, when you look at picture A, if you're describing picture A, but you're living in picture B, guess what? All of what we're doing in picture A is not going to do you any good when you leave this office. So, but that's what it boils down to. So this has been absolutely great. I'm just thinking about so many other different things. I definitely have to go and take a look at the movie. I've heard all about this movie and all. So I'm looking forward to watching this movie. So anything you want to add, real quick before we leave the table?
Sure.
Tell everybody how they can find the movie.
Yeah, so it's a Tubi original film. So it's streaming on Tubi, which is free and doesn't require a subscription. So check out Twisted Marriage Therapist on Tubi. And I'm Booker T.Mattison, Mattison. Once you check the movie out, I love feedback from viewers. So drop me a comment and I always respond.
Thank you so much for coming out and chatting with us. And we can't wait to have you back again to talk about this new film that you have.
Yeah, The Wrong Man is the new one. So that's the next one.
All right. Well, I am Dr. Richard Mason.
And I'm Dr. Tamara Williams.
And thank you once again for joining us right here on WHOV Smooth 88.1 FM.
The essence of HU.
Keep your fork.
someday we'll be able to measure the power of words. I think they are things. I think they get on the walls. They get in your wallpaper. They get in your rugs, in your upholstery, in your clothes, and finally into you.
Thank you for joining us at the table.
Tune in next Sunday at 1 p.m. for more delicious topical recipes for life on the Sunday Brunch.
On Smooth 88.1 WHOV.